Hi, we've teamed up with UK Auto Claims to see if you could be eligible to score thousands in compensation. If you've had any cars, vans or motorbikes on finance between 2007 and 2021, go to ukautoclaims.co.uk to start your free simple check. Loads of you will have overpaid and payouts could be worth thousands, so you've got to look into it. Hit up the link below and check now for free. Hi and welcome along to the Invincible podcast. We are back here. Lee Judge is in the building, back from sunning himself over there in Dubai, right?
Yes.
It's a bit hot to be sunning yourself, isn't it?
Do you know what? One day, Rob, it was 51 degrees out there. I had to put an hat on. It was unreal.
Just a hat.
Just a hat, like.
I know you like to sit out in the sun and bake
even
like
I couldn't do it. I had to have a little break from it. It was that hot, like, you know. But lovely. It's just a wonderful place, isn't it? Like, I took to a couple of my mates and they were saying, I'm not too sure about it and all that. And I said, I was exactly the same. But when I went over there, it just blows your mind.
No, I love Dubai. One of my favourite places.
I think it's probably my favourite place.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
Love the weather. I love the clubs, the restaurants, the people,
the vibe, the people, and everything.
Yeah. One of my favourite places to visit.
And I just think it's
so chilled. If you want to be, everything's there. If you want to be chilled, if you want to be
exactly that. If you want to have a wild time, you can. If you just want to relax and just be spoilt,
no trouble.
And the greatest thing, I tell you what, and this is a true thing. There was a family there, and they said it's the first time that they can all have a photo taken in the sea. And I went, what do you mean by that? He said, well, normally you have to have one standing by the bags as you're all swimming and all that. Like, But in Dubai, you can leave whatever you want there. Your phone, your bags or whatever, all go swimming, come back an hour later, it's all still there.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
It's an unbelievable place for that.
Your phone's probably melted, but you could do that.
Yeah, we have to put it in there. Yeah.
Oh. Wait a minute. Oh, this is true. Gyökeres signing for Arsenal.
What? Is that official?
No, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
Got him, right? Listen, that's the theme of the show today.
I'll tell you what, right? That's a liberty. Joe, cut that bit. I want that bit cut out. I'm not having it.
Got him, people, right? That's the theme of the show. Of course, we're talking about transfers, right? And so far, Arsenal have done nothing.
It's another window. It's another window where Arsenal are not going to do anything like, they didn't do anything in January.
They will do something.
And they're not going to do anything in this window. Like.
In the summer window? Of course they're going to.
No, this little window now. It's a mini window now. It's just closed.
Oh, yeah.
So I guarantee, you know what I mean? So that's two windows, Arsenal Football Club. Well done, Josh. That have done absolutely nothing. Apparently.
So you're counting the little mini window as a window?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, because it's opening from January the 1st, shuts on the 10th. Then opens again on the, have I got it right, 15th or 16th. And the reason why they're doing that is because of the Club World Cup. So it's kind of the early part of the window, sort of specifically for the teams in the Club World Cup. They can get players in and out before that Club World Cup starts.
So that's two windows. Apparently, the recruitment team's annual holidays are in January and June and July. That's what I've been told, inside info, that is, so they're all on holiday at the moment.
Now, there have been a lot of fans losing it and saying, oh, look, how comes we ain't done nothing yet? I mean, we see movements from other clubs. Man United have, signed Cunha. Delap's gone to Chelsea, but as you said, there's a club they're in the Club World Cup. Man City also in the Club World Cup are signing quite a few players. It looks like the Reinders they got coming in and that. But I do think people have to be a little bit patient here. It is just the start of the window. There are lots of negotiations going on. And of course, at the moment, the big one for Arsenal that we all want to see is a striker. And it's looking like either Šeško or Viktor Gyökeres, more looking like Šeško, although the talk is that they're looking at both. They haven't really decided fully yet on which one, but it seems to be more Šeško than Gyökeres.
That worries me. that they're not sure which one. You know, you are.
Well, maybe they're just saying that because I do feel it's more Šeško.
Yeah, I do as well.
And what do you think?
What do I think? In Mikel we trust. You know what I mean? Like
I don't believe this. When he says that, I don't believe that you think that. I mean, what do you think?
Listen, for me, I think that Arsenal are in a period of 4 years where they can win things, right? 2 of those years are gone. You know what I mean? With the team that we've got and everything like that. So I think we've got another 2 years with what we've got. Maybe longer if we start winning things. But so if it was me, I'd go for the ready-made striker, which is Gyökeres, personally, because I think that there's a. If you want to tell me that at 26 who's going to be the better player,
he's actually 27 now.
Is he 27? So by the time Šeško's 27, I think he'd be much better than Gyökeres. I really do. I think he's got more pace, more this, more that, but he's not ready. He's raw. Is he going to come in and get us 20 goals? Now, that doesn't necessarily have to happen, that he has to get 20 goals. He has to make other things happen, like the wider players have got to score goals, or they've got to bring someone from midfield to score goals. So, but I think Arteta, if he signs Gyökeres, he's going to have to change his style a little bit. And I think with Šeško, it keeps into the sort of style that we've got now. So I think that.
Well, a lot of people say that. Well, why would he have to change it? In what ways are he going to have to change his style?
Because I think like it will be more concentrated on just the one player scoring, which would be the striker, which is not a bad thing at the end of the day. Like say like your striker scoring 20, 25 goals and then 10, 15 from other areas. Where I think that Arteta likes to have 10 from there, 10 from there, maybe 15 from the main guy, 4, 5, 6 from the guys behind, something like that. That's what I think, you know. But listen, if I've seen a lot of people going mad if it's Šeško and all that, like, you know what I mean, like you can't win, can you? Like, you know what I mean? You know, I think Turkish made a very, very good point about Šeško, saying that we didn't do anything in January if he's the guy, which I think like I would have preferred to have got something done in January, you know, and then go for it. But I'm not. You know, all I want is I want a striker. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, like there's a little bit of talk today I see about Watkins maybe as well. But like, again, I wouldn't mind Šeško and Watkins. That would be a good deal. You know what I mean?
Gyökeres
or Šeško. could that happen?
Nah, because neither of those strikers are going to move and want to play second fiddle to the other. They're going to want to start games. And even when you mention Ollie Watkins, the problem at Villa with Watkins previously was the fact that like he's like, yo, I ain't started. Well, how comes I ain't started? You got John Duran starting, if you know, and they were both kicking off, saying if they can't start, they want to move on. That's the thing when you got two like real top strikers. I mean, that's the problem you have. But for me,
who would you go for?
Gyökeres as well. I just think like Gyökeres brings you instant goals.
Yeah, that's. I
think the goal scoring record's phenomenal. Can't be ignored. I know what people are saying. Portuguese league, that's a harder league to score, easier league to score goals in than the Bundesliga. We know that. People have cited examples of other players that have scored lots of goals in Portugal and have not replicated it elsewhere. You look at Darwin Núñez, he was killing it over there. Coming to the Premier League, can't hit a barn door, you know what I mean? So, but for me, like you said, we want to win the title next season. You know, we'll be dealing with ceilings, you know, everyone says, ceiling's high, you know. Our ceiling, right, the ceiling for Arsenal at the moment in winning things is getting lower and lower, it's closing in on us.
Yeah, it is.
Right, we need to win something. And so that's why I go for Gyökeres, although I'd be at peace with it if we got Šeško. It wouldn't be the end of the world for me. Like I'm like you, I want a striker. So if we get Šeško, all right, fair enough. It's down to him then. Like, there'll be a lot of pressure on him. It's what will he become? Can he become another Isak? Where remember when Isak came in, he wasn't a prolific goal scorer over there at Real Sociedad, and he's turned into a prolific goal scorer, and he's turned into an even better player. playing with better players in the Premier League and has become this unbelievable player. So that could be Šeško. But then it could also be, he could become the new Rasmus Højlund, where it's a young player who's come into the league, scored a few goals over, weren't prolific over there in Italy, but scored goals, lots of potential, ceilings high, and the ceilings come crashing in on him because not being able to handle the pressure, and he's been an absolute disaster. So those are the things that Arsenal have to consider when thinking about somebody like a Šeško. Whereas with, Gyökeres, he's 27, he's established, he played in the Championship as well, which I think carries weight as well now. When you're talking about the Premier League, because, we've seen players like Ollie Watkins step up from the Championship and do really well in the. It's not like before. People say, "Oh, can he make that step?" Ollie Watkins has done it. Ivan Toney's done it. Mitrovic has done it. Brian Mbeumo's done it. You know what I mean? So you can make that step. So yeah, I prefer Gyökeres, but if it's Šeško, I'm still going to get behind it, and it's going to be more me than hoping that please come good. He seems to have all the attributes.
Yeah.
I mean, when you watch him play, he's lightning quick. He's a very big guy. Like, he's about 6'4", 5". He's a tall guy, so hopefully he should be good in the air. We whip a lot of crosses into the box, and he's technically a very, very good player. Whereas, you look at Gyökeres, he's more an out, strong, physical, gets in on the end of things. Šeško seems to have all the attributes, but it's only time will tell with him. But I'd be very disappointed if you got a Gyökeres and he didn't score lots of goals. You'd be like, he come with a reputation of scoring, man. What's happened? Whereas with Šeško, there's still that doubt. We don't know.
Yeah,
is he the guy? Yeah, that's the thing.
It's a massive call for the
big
football
call,
club. Massive
big
for
call.
The club. Because I think that, and I don't mean to be horrible about it. This is the signing that's going to make or break the football club. The manager, everything, I really do. I don't think that either one is going to be exciting me to say, right, that's it, we're definitely champions next season. I don't think that's going to be the case. But before everybody goes mad about it, I always say this about Thierry Henry when he first came. Was there an excitement about when Thierry Henry came? It wasn't. We just lost Anelka at that time, if you remember rightly. He come in with David Suker, if you remember rightly. And there was no real exciting buzz. And I remember watching Henry at first and thinking, well, I'd rather have Anelka. But look what happened, so...
No buzz when Anelka coming either.
No, like, as soon as I see him, there was. You know what I mean? And listen, he was raw, learning and all that, and he was fantastic for us. So Šeško coming in being raw and not quite ready, like Anelka was, at the end of the day, let's be really honest about it. At the beginning of the season, you said Anelka or Ian Wright, who would you have gone for? Right. You've gone with Ian Wright, he's proven, he's this and he's that. But at the end of it, you would have said, and even Ian's admitted that, he said, Anelka was the guy. So this Šeško could come in and just be an Anelka, or he could, we don't know.
The new Anelka.
Huh? The new Anelka.
The new Anelka.
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
You know what I mean? But he was raw, he missed chances and all that, but his pace was devastating. It just frightened the living daylights of every team that he come against. So this Šeško might do that. You imagine if you got that pace going down the middle of our attack. I think when you look at Havertz, I think Havertz has got a lot of qualities. One of them isn't he ain't electric. You know what I mean? So it could be that, on the counter attack we could be so much better than what we have been before. So listen, when people go, I don't want this, I don't want that, just there's always been things like that.
You know what, Lee? You make a great point, and it's not always the big obvious names.
No.
Mo Salah, when he came in at Liverpool, they wouldn't have looked on him and thought he was going to do anything what he's done.
No.
Obviously, they think they're buying a good player. He had a good time of it at Roma, but they weren't expecting him to do what he did. Mane, when they bought him, Sadio Mane, they weren't expecting him to...
Everybody saying he was overpriced at Southampton, I remember. Everybody going, wow.
But he weren't that, he's not that marquee where you're thinking, wow. Right, and you can look at a lot of signings like that. Listen, you can look at signings that are obvious ones, like a Haaland, that when he came in, he's coming with a big rep, he scores goals and that, and he's replicated that. But there are so many signings. Isak is the prime one. Funny enough, you know what? Check this out, right? I was looking at this. So, last season, right? The 2024-25 season, right? I was looking at the top 30 most expensive transfers in that transfer window in the Premier League, right? I'm going to run through all 30 of them, right?
Go on in.
And I want you to tell me which one of those, after seeing them for a season, you think has been successful. And you guys out there, you can join in this as well, right? Because this just goes to show, we all want the big name, the big shiny name. You know, there were teams that we thought had a brilliant, remember people, this team won the transfer window, that one won it. Marks out of 10 for this window and that. I had a look back and I was thinking, right, so let's go through it, right? 30th most expensive, right? Nicholas Füllkrug went from Dortmund to West Ham, 27 million.
Well, we know that's a failure.
Somerville, Leeds to West Ham, 29.3 million.
Of course, West Ham have had their pants pulled down on two. That's not been great.
Wilson Odebear, Burnley to Tottenham, 29.3 million. Matt O'Reilly, Celtic to Brighton, 29.5 million.
No, he's been injured a lot like that. I mean, but
it hasn't worked. We're just going off at this moment in time whether they've worked or not.
Yeah.
Joachim Andersen, Crystal Palace to Fulham, 29.5 million.
Yeah, I'm going to say that as because...
Been okay. I don't think, compared to what he was doing at Palace, nowhere near has been as good at Fulham, I don't think. He's been all right.
Oh, what, at Fulham? You just said,
yeah, because remember he went from Palace to Fulham.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I thought you meant Nottingham Forest.
30 Caglioglio, probably pronounced that wrong.
Well
Fenerbahce to Brighton, 30 million. So not really...
in and out.
Yep. Giorgio Mashmat. Oh gosh, I can't pronounce that name right. But you know the keeper that went. He went from Valencia to Liverpool. To be fair with this one, we're going to take this out because he's back. He went back on loan.
There, so you can't.
Right. So, but that's 30 million. Brajan Gruder, Mainz to Brighton, 30 million. Not really played. Not really figured much.
No.
Emil Smith Rowe, Arsenal to Fulham. 31.8 million.
No, I don't think that's worked.
Not really worked.
He's in and out.
Started okay.
But I expected more to be from us.
David Raya, Brentford to Arsenal, 31.9
There's the first one, like.
Yeah,
you know
and that was really a loan.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's his second season, but...
Yeah, that's really second season. Hard to kind of count that one in.
Yeah, we won't count that one in.
Mats Wafer, Feyenoord to Brighton, 32 million.
They spent some money, Brian.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money. No, not really.
No, done okay.
Mikel Merino, Real Sociedad to Arsenal, 32 million.
Not been an out and out success. I have to say that he's done okay.
Did I think it's not towards the end of the season?
He did
really well.
He's done okay.
Okay. Lewis Hall, Chelsea to Newcastle, 33 million.
Okay.
Igor Thiago, Club Bruges to Brentford, 33 million.
Not really done, not for me.
Didn't he go back on loan? I don't know. I've not really. Igor, I think, did he get injured? But anyway, not really worked. No. Minter, Newcastle to Brighton, he did well. Yeah. 35 million.
Yeah.
He did it. I think he had a good season. I'll say that one worked.
Yeah.
Kieran Dewsbury Hall, Leicester to Chelsea, 35.4 million. Flopped badly.
No.
Hardly played.
No.
Evan Nilsson, Porto to Bournemouth, 37 million.
Yes,
that
I think that's
good signing.
Good signing.
Yep. That's the 14th most expensive. Elliot Anderson, Newcastle to Nottingham Forest.
That's the one I said,
41.2 million.
41? Is that how much he was?
For expensive. Actually, that was euros. By the way, these are euros. I've been saying pounds. But these are euros. Good signing.
Yes, good, very good sign because Nottingham Forest were mid-table. They've gone and challenged for the Champions League.
Good signing.
Very good signing.
Archie Gray, leads to Spurs 41.25 million euros.
London Player of the Year. It's got to be a work. It's got to work, hasn't it?
I think he's been all right.
He's been all right.
41 had to do a lot of defending.
Yeah. And when it really mattered, weren't in the team.
Yeah, 41.25 million euros.
But the potential.
Joshua Zirkzee, Bologna to Man United, 42.5 million. Nope, didn't work.
No.
Ian Matson, Chelsea to Aston Villa, 44.5 million. I didn't even realise he cost that much. Didn't hardly, wasn't even starting games.
That's unbelievable.
That didn't work. Ricardo Calafiori, Bologna to Arsenal, 45 million euros. That hasn't worked because he was injured
a lot. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them can say that, but we've got to be honest.
Yep. Matthias de Ligt, Bayern Munich to Man United, 45 million. No. Injured a lot, didn't work.
No.
Georgina Ruta, Leeds to Brighton, 46.7 million.
It has worked.
Decent season.
How much money have Brighton spent here?
They spent a lot. They're one of the biggest spenders.
That was the biggest spending. I couldn't believe it.
And we'll talk about the teams who spent this money in a minute, but 7th most expensive signing that was.
He's been decent for him.
Decent. Not lit it up.
But he's done okay.
Max Kilman, Wolves to West Ham, 47.5 million.
Not worked.
Their defence was terrible.
4th from bottom, 5th from bottom, 6th from bottom.
João Felix, Atletico Madrid to Chelsea, 52 million euros. Didn't work. Then they sent him out on loan again. Disaster.
Yeah.
Amadou Onana, Everton to Aston Villa, 59.35 million.
A lot of money, but he
didn't work.
No, he's been left out in the last.
Injured a lot.
Yeah.
Weren't starting.
Yeah. Wouldn't say he's in their first 11.
No, 3rd most expensive signing. Pedro Neto, Wolves to Chelsea, 60 million euros. Didn't work really, patchy.
Not as good as what I thought it would.
No, I wouldn't say, patchy, weren't he? A few good games.
I do think he's a good player, by the way.
I do think he's a good player, but
it's not quite.
It's not lit it up at Chelsea. I'd say he's been quite an average season for him.
I thought he'd do more.
Yeah. Lenny Yoro, Lille to Manchester United, 62 million euros. Hasn't worked.
No.
Might get better this season. Did get injured as well at the start of the season. 62 million euros. And the most expensive signing of the summer window, do you know who that is?
Not off the top of my head now.
A striker.
A striker? Chelsea, is it Chelsea? No, not Chelsea, so it would be... Not Man United.
Really did Xerxes.
No, Tottenham?
Yep. Dominic Solanke, Bournemouth to Spurs, 64.3 million euros.
Well, they've won a trophy.
Most expensive.
They've won a trophy, like, you know what I mean?
Won a trophy, 22 losses in the league. Didn't work. Didn't work. Didn't hit.
Well, like, he left
goals.
Bournemouth and he's gone. Bournemouth come above Spurs.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't say it's a.
Didn't work for me.
No.
Right? I know they won a trophy, but that trophy weren't an integral part.
He was the biggest signing, Solanke.
Most expensive signing of the transfer window last season. Right.
Blimey.
Now, out of all those signings, who really
one hand?
Yeah.
One hand, you can say, like, I've worked there.
I mean, there's signings that were less expensive than that are like, I think it was Dean Howson that you came in at Bournemouth. He had a great season, but he wasn't. Nobody even knew he was or anything. That's what I'm saying. So when we talk about big headline signings, expensive.
I've always said this. Is
to your point that you made.
Those exciting signings. Look, it's great to have. Arsenal, right? Record signings, right, over the whole of their history. I think only Declan Rice has become a success if you work it out really. And I'll go for Malcolm McDonald back in the 70s was a record signing, never quite worked. Charlie Nicholas, great as he was, Charlie, wasn't like the success that everybody would go on to it there. Mesut Ozil, you could have an argument about that.
Didn't really work.
Pepe certainly didn't work.
No.
You know what I mean? So, and obviously the Declan Rice one has.
That has worked, yeah.
So we haven't had that many,
Yeah.
And I look at it and I go, and I don't mean this just I said it on Forever Arsenal, like, you know, we're going to make some signings. They're not going to be exciting, right? I don't think that they're going to be as exciting as what we think they're going to be. But that doesn't mean to say that they're not going to be right. I'll go back with Arsenal. Freddie Ljungberg. Was you excited when Freddie Ljungberg signed for Arsenal?
No.
No one knew him, but look how good he was.
Yeah.
So, you know, let them do their work. Let them do what they want to do.
Was you excited we signed David Raya? As a matter of fact, you was pretty angry about it.
I wasn't happy about it.
Even me, I was like, why? Why do we need David Raya and that?
Wasn't happy about it. I wasn't overexcited about Gabriel.
2 years in a row.
Was you Gabriel?
No.
Look at him now. You know, so there is those sort of signings of all the way through.
As I said, if you look back at it, right? I was looking back at it, and like people were saying, West Ham won the transfer window. Even me at the time was saying, wow, look at some of the signings they've made. Man, West Ham fans will be excited. Look where they finished. They was at 18th in the league.
Yeah,
a terrible
you would have
season.
said that with those signings that they made, you thought like, phew.
All them signings Brighton made, those fans would have been well excited, spent so much money. Unusual for Brighton. Really didn't get European football.
No.
Didn't make it. Right? You know what I mean? Sometimes when the transfer window comes around, we're all looking for that big headline signing, like a João Felix, because he's a big headliner.
Yeah.
Like a Pedro. I would have loved Pedro Neto last season, but they didn't do anything.
No.
So sometimes it's about the recruitment team getting those signings right.
Yeah.
United fans were excited about Xerxes. He's flopped. Right? You know what I mean? You've got to get these signings right, because if you don't, if they don't fit what you're trying to do, fit the style of play. What looks great right now might not be.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why you've got to let them. That's why I'm not going to lose. If it is Šeško they bring in, then I'm not going to go mad about it. Even if it's Gyökeres, I'm not going to be overexcited about it.
I mean, I'll be excited if they got Gyökeres. I ain't going to lie. I would be excited, because to me, I'm excited because of the goals. I'll be like, and I'll be excited. Say they got a Rodrigo. I'd be very excited.
Yeah, I just.
But then it might not necessarily work.
I just think, like, you know, because he's, you know, like, scored a lot of goals in Portugal and all that, like, I think there's still an element of question mark about it. You know, like, when was the last time we really got excited about a sign? For me, it was Declan Rice, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. When he signed for Arsenal, I remember we was in America. Do you remember he come on in the Washington game? Like, you know what I mean? I was like a little kid. Like, you know what I mean? I've seen him on his debut. Like, and you know what I mean? I was excited about that one. Probably Sanchez was the one. Before that. But other than that.
Aubameyang was excited about as well.
Yes, Aubameyang was a sign because it was in.
Yeah, we knew that. Yeah, I mean, and he actually delivered the goals as well.
Yeah, so he made it on his debut. Was like in February against Everton. I remember, like,
he was an exciting. Listen, I want to see some exciting players come in. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to make the point that, you know, at the time you can go at them by all the biggest names.
Yeah.
They ain't necessarily going to work. I think we've seen United doing that when they brought in Casemiro and this and that, and their fans were like, "Yeah, they were all excited at the time." Been a
was
disaster.
The centre half they bought at the same time as we bought?
Is it Maguire?
No, the French guy. He's retired now. Got him from Real Madrid.
He's at where now?
He got him from Real Madrid.
Varane. We got Varane.
That was, everybody was going mad about him. And
what they didn't realise is that Varane was at the end of his career. Varane was, you know, he's retired now. Varane.
Yeah, he was.
Right, he was struggling.
Like,
if you don't get the recruitment right.
Yeah.
If you don't get that right, if you're not meticulous with what you do, so when a lot of fans are saying, "Oh, how comes we ain't done nothing yet? Chelsea have done this," but Chelsea done loads last season. Look at how many players Chelsea signed last season. How many of them worked? How many were even playing?
I think with the lap, they've got a little bit like.
I think it's a good sign.
I think it's a very good sign, but there's still that. He's had a year in the Premier League, which probably helps him out a little bit. Like, but there's still that ceiling. We're going to talk about ceiling. He's nowhere near the the finished article at this moment in time. So are we going to, you know, if Arsenal signed Delap, would we have been all happy about it? That's my point here, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think we would have been, but...
Yeah, I would have been...
But we'd have been going, we'd be like,
ready. That's that's not enough.
No, exactly that.
You know?
Exactly that. He's not ready. He's not enough. We need something else apart from that, like, you know.
Yeah.
So if Chelsea go in with that of Delap and Jackson, is that good enough? You know what I mean? It might well be. You know what I mean? You don't know. Like, there's a lot of potential for there, but
you've got to be meticulous. Like, you've got to be meticulous. You've got to bring in that player that's going to. So, like when you say earlier about Šeško fitting how Arsenal play, that's probably how they're looking at it. They're looking at it and thinking, you know, there's Gyökeres or Šeško. Which one of them is going to suit how we play? Which one's going to help us to, you know, score more goals? I mean, like you said, it's scoring more goals, but also scoring more goals as a team overall. But then, you know, it would... Listen, I just think if you had a striker that scores 20 goals and then you add in what Saka does and what Martinelli does and what Trossard does, all the others, then all of a sudden you can win a league.
I think it's very, very important as well that he has to gel and make players around him play as well. Obviously, Odegaard, Saka, as we said, Martinelli. I want to see what would Martinelli. You know, I've seen a lot of people talk. I've seen like what you said and what Turkey said about about Martinelli. Let's just go. I want to see Martinelli playing with a proper striker. So when he gets to the byline, or gets to, because at this moment in time there is a little argument like, why don't he cross it? Because there ain't no one to cross it to, so he might have to do something else. Now he knows he's got someone in there. Can he beat? You don't have to go past the mat. You can just shift it and then put it across. See what these players are like with a proper centre forward. That's all what I want to see.
Saka might get more assists.
Yeah,
a proper centre forward in there. He might get more goals himself, because if you've got a proper centre forward that's occupying defenders and, you know, taking defenders away and that creates more space for those wide players.
100%.
Maybe those wide players might score more goals.
And Saka, for Saka at times, and I see it with the PSG game as well. He gets the ball. There's three players on him, 3-4 players. Well, you do that and you leave Šeško or Gyökeres on in the middle on their own, what's going to happen? Yeah. So I think that there is, you know...
We saw it with PSG, innit? Like, playing Dembele, sort of false number.
But they don't play it, you know what I mean?
They don't really have a striker, but what they do have is they just have threats right across that front foot. Serious threats. Oh, they were brilliant.
How good were they?
They're brilliant. I said to, you know, one of my Tottenham mates who was going on about, you know, I saw him the other day, he's like, who's had the more success, you know, that, who's had the more successful season stuff. And I said to him, I go, well, I think you saw the other night, there's a little bit different when you got to play PSG in a semi-final to Bodo Glimt. You know what I mean?
That's chalk and cheese, that is. Like,
exactly.
I mean.
So, yeah, you know what I mean? You'll find out next season when you're in that competition. You'll find out it's a lot harder.
There's just that... How can you say it, like, you know what I mean? Like, the quality is just something there. I actually thought we done okay. I thought we was unlucky against PSG and we'll give them a really good game over 2 games. But when you look on it, they were the better team than us in my opinion, over the 2 games. They were. But they weren't like head and shoulders. But my God, they ripped into. And by the way,
could have been 8.
Do you know Arsenal only lost 2 games in the whole 3 games in the Champions League. 3 games. They lost twice to PSG and once to Inter, both in the final.
Yeah. You know the other thing, right, which was really, really interesting. Remember we were moaning about this and there's people like, oh, Rob, stop moaning. Yeah, it's the Arsenal fans as usual making excuses, which we weren't making excuses at the time, but we were making an observation about this tournament and saying, this is ridiculous. Now, I remember both of us were moaning about the fact that we played Real Madrid, we had to play the second leg away.
Yeah.
We then played PSG.
Yeah, same thing.
Had to play the second leg away. Now, both of those teams, we finished above them in the group stages. We finished 3rd in those group stages. Neither of those teams were even in the top 8. But yet still, they got their second legs away. Do you know that next season they're changing that?
Yeah, changing it.
They are now looked on it and thought, nah, this is not fair. If you finish in the top 8, you should have an advantage. So you know, some sort of, you know, to give people an incentive. Well, I mean, what's the point in finishing in the top 8 if you ain't got those guys? So in the next season, had that scenario been the same, Arsenal would have had those second legs at home, right? Which does make a difference when you've got those 100%. Second legs at home, right? So when we were moaning about it at the time in disbelief that how can this be, it was valid.
Yeah.
It was valid. You know what I mean? It's not the reason. You can't cite that as the reason because, you know, PSG beat us home and away. But it was just ridiculous at the time
There's something.
This was there.
I'm glad they've looked at that and said, look, the team that comes higher gets the. So, like, if you was third and you're playing the 7th team, then it goes like.
Yeah, whoever team's higher gets the second leg, which makes sense, and it gives you an incentive to get into that top 8 as well.
100%. So, like, realistically, the powers that be,
it's an oversight.
They should have. Yeah, it's an absolute oversight that they didn't even think about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes ask the fans what they want, like, and that was one of them, like, So, listen, I think at the end of the day, PSG a little bit different to everybody else. They've got amazing players in different areas and whatever. You could back the centre forward, but I just think that Arsenal needs to just go in with that, just change it a little bit, Mikel, and. But I'll tell you what I know it sounds silly, but what PSG done on the weekend, it sort of, I didn't say justified us a season, but you think, well, we didn't have our forwards playing. We had Saka half fit, and we give them a game over 2 legs, which, and they are by far out. I wouldn't say got the best footballers, because you'd probably push that as at Real Madrid, but they got the best team.
Best team by far.
And that's another thing that people go, you don't necessarily have to have the best players to be the best team, you know what I mean? So that's something else you got to.
And we got a good team. We got a very, very good team. We just need to add to that team, striker, left winger, attacking midfielder, you know what I mean? Just like get those players in, man, defensive midfielder. Does look like they're, working on Partey, as we can see. They released 20 players, but Partey's not one of those listed as players released. So they're obviously trying to work on a new deal for him that makes perfect sense. But Kieran Tierney leaving this week.
Yeah, gutted.
Sad to see him go.
Gutted. Yeah, I am gutted, like, you know what I mean? But I understand it, like, you know what I mean? And, I think he's going to go back to Celtic. And I think he'll look back at it, injuries, a little bit of a thing. But at the end of the day, I don't think he'll look at it as a bad time at Arsenal. No. I think the fans loved him, and I think at the end of the day, wish him all the best. And I think, like, by never met him, but by all accounts, a lovely person around the dressing room and everything like that. So wish him good luck.
No, definitely wish him good luck.
And Jorginho as well. I'll tell you what, Jorginho, I know he only had a couple of years here, changed my perspective of him as a footballer.
Yeah, he was good.
So much better than what I thought he was.
Yep. See, they released that Butler a day as well. Like, he was... A lot of times,
and left Gower as well, who's been on the bench more times than some players have had appearances at Arsenal.
He's a ruthless game, man. Like, we always talk about players coming in, we forget about these guys that get released and stuff like that. There'll be a lot of players in that, those Arsenal youth players have been there since they were little kids.
Yeah.
Now they're out of work.
Yeah, a lot, and some of them will never recover from it.
Yeah, very, very.
Very tough. Listen. At the end of the day, I suppose you as a footballer, like, you get that first one, the apprenticeship, don't you? Then you get the pro contracts, and then
battle for the first team.
Yeah, and then if it don't happen, that's when I suppose you get released. But
yeah.
But listen, to all those players and all that, like, there's a lot of players out there that have been released and come back and been good.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be a gate. So, I wish them all well.
Yep. Well, listen, it's a short one today because it has all been about transfers. We're going to keep you up to date with all transfers that are happening right throughout the summer on Transfer Daily.
With every other team.
We'll be having it. And we'll be giving you updates, right, on a regular basis. So if anybody does sign, although Lee thinks no one's going to sign.
I don't think anybody's signing this window for Arsenal. I don't. I don't think this...
Well, the Zubimendi deal, they're saying that, that's like...
I think it's all done, but they can't. They want to
start of July and stuff.
Yeah,
like that anyway.
and the thing is, which people don't realise, is that if you go in after, that's when they put the sheets, for the financial fee. So they don't want it in this year's one. They want it in next year, so they can do that in July. So, and probably Arsenal to a certain degree, can't do that until after July, or other clubs because they haven't got the money. Yeah, from one day to the next. I know it's stupid, but that's how it works.
That's how the books balance. So.
And everybody knows it. The contracts are not from now they're from July. When you sign a contract to a football club, it's July the 1st. That's when your contract starts.
And that's why they said the Zubimendi one. They said that that's probably not going to happen till July the 1st as well. So let's see.
Well, the biggest panic if we go, you're on if they're on the tour in Singapore and there's not players on there, that's when you got to start panicking. Not now. Not now.
We've had those before over the years, but let's hope we're not panicking about that. But listen, good to have you back.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Back in the place, right? He's got shorts on, even though it's raining at the moment. But listen,
poor old Joe there was like celebrating the rain, doing a bloody rain dance when he come in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where's the matter with that bloke?
He's crazy. Man.
He's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Just as well he's a good cameraman. Like,
Who said that? Oh, well, anyway, listen. No, he is. Right. Back in the UK, Lee Judge is back here. We're going to be here every week with the Invincible podcast, so make sure you don't miss it. And as I said, keep abreast of Transfer Daily. We keep you up to date with any transfer news. As soon as it happens, we'll let you know here on AFTV. Thanks, Lee. Thanks to you guys, and we'll see you very soon. The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.